What's up, slackers? Welcome to Book Cheats. Today's featured tie is a black JF tie. If you have any tie suggestions for my next video, please leave a comment down below. Today we're going to be talking about The Great Gatsby Chapter 3. So at the beginning of this chapter, Nick describes the endless parties that happen over at his neighbor's house, The Great Gatsby. Nick described all the people and all the noise that would come from there. Eventually, one day, one of Gatsby's butlers came by and dropped off an invitation for Nick to come to one of Gatsby's parties that night. It is on this letter that we learn Gatsby's first name. Gatsby's first name is Jay Gatsby. When Nick got to the party at 7 p.m., he said that he felt really out of place. There was a lot of people there, and he didn't know anybody. He sort of went around and asked if anybody knew Gatsby, but nobody knew where he was at. Nick found a spot where he didn't look like such a loner and just chilled there for a little bit. After a while, Nick was feeling so out of place, he says he was tempted to get roaring drunk just to avoid the awkwardness. Right when he was about to start drinking, he saw Miss Baker. It is here where we finally learn the first name of Miss Baker. Her first name is Jordan. When Nick sees Jordan Baker, he determines to attach himself to her. When Jordan sees Nick too, she realizes that he needs a friend. But at first, she sort of brushes him off because two of her acquaintances compliment her about her golf match. Her two acquaintances were two girls in matching yellow dresses, and they said, "Sorry about losing your golf tournament." Nick, Jordan, the two acquaintances, and three other people sit down and start to chat. A woman named Lucille talks about her last Gatsby party and says that she ripped her dress and that Gatsby had sent her a new, nicer one in the mail. The small group began to gossip about who Gatsby was, and they started saying random stuff like they heard he killed a man or that he was a German spy. Jordan invites Nick to join her with her main group, which was a bunch of people from the East Egg. The East Egg people sort of separated themselves from everybody else because they were wealthier, and they sort of stayed out of the chaos. After some time chilling with this group, Jordan leaned in to Nick and asked if he wanted to find Gatsby. So Nick and Jordan go off around the whole party looking for Gatsby. They went around everywhere, but they couldn't find him. When Nick and Jordan get to the library, they find a drunk guy there who's super surprised that the books are all real because he expected them to be cardboard. Nick says that the party continued and people were singing and dancing and enjoying their time. And as the party went on and got a little more chaotic, a man recognized Nick. The man said that Nick and him had met in France in the war, and that they had chatted in France. This guy was super nice, and he invited Nick to go hydroplaning the next day. Nick was about to ask his name when Jordan interrupted their conversation by asking Nick if he was having a good time. Nick said that he was having a much better time than he was at the beginning. He mentioned to his war friend he was surprised that he hadn't met the host of the party yet, and that he had received an invitation from the host. The man looked at him, failing to understand what he was saying, and then he said, "I'm Gatsby."
See, I'm Gatsby.
Nick was shocked, and all he could say was, "What? Oh, I beg your pardon." Gatsby thought that Nick knew who he was and apologized for being a bad host. Nick says that Gatsby smiled in a way that you only see 4 or 5 times in your life.
His smile was one of those rare smiles that you may come across 4 or 5 times in life.
He smiled in a way that completely understood where you were coming from and understood you in the way that you wanted to be understood. In a flash, it disappeared, and Nick describes Gatsby. Nick says that Gatsby was a 32-year-old, elegant guy who talked in such a formal way that it was borderline absurd and charming. A butler came up to Gatsby and said that he had a phone call from Chicago. Gatsby apologized and told Nick to enjoy the party and have whatever he wanted, and he left to answer the phone. When Gatsby left, Nick says that Gatsby had piqued his interest like no one had ever done before. He asked Jordan, "Who is this Gatsby?" Because Jordan didn't really know, she changes the subject and talks about how she likes big parties a lot better than small parties because there's a lot more privacy in big parties. After his phone call, Gatsby comes out and asks the band to play a certain song. As everybody's enjoying dancing to the song, Gatsby looks out over everyone in approval, and Nick says there wasn't a hint of malice in Gatsby's being. As the song ended, A butler came up to Jordan and said that Gatsby wanted to talk to Jordan alone. She left with the butler, and Nick sat there alone, enjoying the party and watching everyone. Nick says that because people were starting to get more drunk and it was getting late, couples started to argue and fight. After a while, a large portion of the party had left when Jordan and Gatsby finally exited the room. Jordan came up to Nick and said that she promised Gatsby that she couldn't tell him that day what Gatsby had talked about, but that she wanted Nick to visit her, and told Nick that she was staying with her aunt. Guests were huddling around Gatsby to say goodbye, and Nick was embarrassed that he had stayed so long at the party. He had the butler grab his things, and he decided it was time for him to leave. Nick apologizes to Gatsby for having stayed so long. Gatsby tells Nick not to mention it, and tells him to come over tomorrow at 9 so that they can go hydroplaning. As Nick leaves the party, the drunken guy from the library crashes his car and his wheel pops off. A bunch of guys help him to get his car out of the road so other people can leave. The last few pages in the chapter is Nick pretty much explaining his and Jordan's relationship. Nick says that after the party, he didn't see Jordan for a while, and that when he did see her, they started to hang out a lot. Nick says that he wasn't in love with Jordan, but that he was comfortable being around her. He says that he discovered the reason why Jordan was the way that she was. He says that she was addicted to lying.
You didn't eat anything.
Yeah. Okay.
John, look at mommy.
Anything.
Are you telling me the truth?
Yeah.
And that she didn't like people calling her out on her lies. He says that after hanging out with her for a while, he had a moment where he sort of fell in love with her, but he said that his internal rules sort of turned it off. And that concludes the chapter. Thanks so much for watching Book Cheats. Please leave a like and subscribe. If you have any questions from your homework, leave a comment down below. Have a great day, and as always, slack on.